Today we are talking about the TOTO Neorest Integrated Bidet toilet combinations. Here are some of them. We're going to be bringing more out as we continue this conversation. These are by far our most recommended integrated units. If you come to our site and say, hey, I want a sleek integrated bidet toilet combination, what do you recommend? Hands down, TOTO Neorest tends to be the answer. Why? Because they're high quality, they offer tons of features, they offer really good wash and dry, and they're just incredibly sleek and classy. So today we're going to talk about the differences between the different units, because that's not always super clear, so that you can pick the perfect unit for you when choosing a TOTO Neorest. So today we are talking about all of the floor-mounted TOTO Neorest units. That means that we are not covering the EW and the AC Neorest units because those are wall-hung and require a very specialized bathroom setup to accommodate them. We are going to start with the RH, 700H, and the NX1 and talk about the differences between these three, and then bring in the other three and compare and contrast throughout the video. So taking a look at the TOTO Neorest RH, this is the best bang for your buck that you're going to get with a Neorest unit. Nearly every feature between these is the same, so really what we're looking at here is the difference between design. With the RH being on the low end of the spectrum, we do have a plastic access panel in the back. This access panel comes off and gives you access to the plumbing. It also gives you access to the bolts that hold the toilet itself to the flange adapter, as well as gives you access to some of the internals. From a functionality standpoint, this plastic access panel does not affect functionality whatsoever. It also does not affect how much weight the TOTO Neorest RH can support, as the entire unit is supported by porcelain. This just gives you access. So that plastic access panel is really more of a aesthetics than anything else when you're talking about how the unit looks. Having these plastic access panels does make it a little easier to install as well. However, you're still going to have to drill into your bathroom floor to install this unit. Now, taking a look at the 700H, a fully porcelain base, this allows you to have a really sleek look. You'll also notice that there are holes here in the back where the toilet mounts to the floor. So there's actually mounting brackets, which we'll talk about more. That makes this a little bit of a trickier install because of the fact that you don't have access to the back there. It all has to be done from the outside. One of the things that these two units, the 700H and the RH, have in common is that the lid is separate. And you can actually see a seam here. So I could actually take off this lid and there are the internals. Now, obviously this is not an installed unit. If it was an installed unit, it would be screwed onto the base. You would not be able to lift it off of the toilet, but they are two separate pieces. The same goes for the RH. There's a seam here. These are two separate pieces. If you upgrade to something like the NX1, which by the way, NX1 and NX2 are the only two Neorests currently made in Japan. We'll talk more about that later. But if you go with the NX1, it's a fully one-piece unit. This lid, the seat, all one piece. So you're not dealing with two pieces that separate from one another. The installation of this is similar to the 700H in the respect that you use a mounting bracket, and that mounting bracket then gets screwed into from the outside. Now, we talked about the plastic access panel on the side of the RH. The 700H and the NX1 both have access panels as well, but because the base is fully porcelain, their access panels are on the back. So in order to access anything that you need to get at while the toilet is still fully installed, these units are going to be accessed from the back on the top versus the RH where it is on the side. When we talk about buying a TOTO Neorest, we have to remember that these units are larger than your standard toilet. So if you're going to put one of these in your home, you need to make sure that you have the space in the bathroom to install one of these first. So we're going to talk about the different sizes, the RH and the AH being the smallest, and then the 700H, 750, etc. being larger. So for starters, the RH and the AH, which both use the same bowl, we're looking at 27 1/8 of an inch from front to back, and 15 1/4 of an inch from side to side. Now keep in mind that this is with a 12-inch rough-in, which is standard in most homes and is the rough-in required to install a Neorest in your home. For the 700H and the 750H, we're looking at a larger footprint here. So we're looking at 31 1/2 inches from front to back and 17 5/8 of an inch from left to right. Also keep in mind that for any of these units, when you're talking about the front to back length, we need to take into account if you have a bathroom door that comes near the toilet, does that bathroom door have room to close? Do your knees need space in front of the toilet bowl to rest comfortably? So you need more than 27 inches or 31 inches to make one of these toilets work because your knees need somewhere to go. For the NX1 and the NX2, we're looking at 31 1/2 inches from front to back and 18 1/2 inches from left to right. Now, while the NX1 is larger overall, the footprint at the bottom is smaller on the NX1 than you're going to see on any of the other Neorests except for the NX2 since they use the same bowl. So if you're looking for the smallest footprint at the bottom, the NX1 is a fantastic way to go. Between these three styles, the RH and the AH are going to have the smallest sittable space, and that's because of the width of the unit being shorter than the width of the other two. The 700H has the most sittable space along with the 750H, and then the NX1 and NX2 are in the middle. Now, TOTO does say that despite the 700 and 750 having more sittable space, the NX1 and the NX2 are going to be the most comfortable units. I've not personally had a lot of extensive testing on that. I will shortly after we install one, and I will report back. So if you want feedback on that, subscribe, check the notification bell to make sure that you get notified when we drop that video. Now you might say to yourself, well, I don't want something that's not comfortable. I need the 700H or the NX1. You might need these because these are fantastic toilets, but even the RH is going to be more comfortable than what you experience with a standard toilet experience. So going to a Neorest, hands down, is absolutely going to be an upgrade. If you want a throne that's fit for a king, yeah, the 700H or NX1 might be a good direction to head. The seat sensor keeps the toilet from operating unless someone is seated on the unit so you don't spray water around your bathroom. The RH and AH, as well as the 700H and 750H, all have TOTO's unique weight sensing seat sensor. So you put some weight on the seat, and a little trigger on the back side of the seat activates, letting the seat know that someone's seated and kicking that seat sensor on so that the wash can run. The NX1 and the NX2, no weight seat sensor. Instead, it uses a seat sensor more akin to what a lot of other manufacturers in the marketplace use, which is an infrared sensor that picks up skin detection on the seat. So once it picks up on the fact that there's skin on the seat, that seat sensor activates so that the wash can run. So these units are a little bit different in that respect. NX1 and NX2 uses an infrared sensor. The rest of them use a weight sensor. Like most other toilets on the market today, the RH, AH, 700H, and 750H all have a rim to their toilet. Now this obviously keeps things from splashing, etc., but it makes it a little bit trickier to clean because you have to clean under that rim. The NX1 and NX2 has a rimless design, so you don't have any rim here to deal with when cleaning, just making that cleaning process that much easier. As you can see here, the NX1 and the NX2 also flush, hitting the back side of the bowl first, versus the others in the Neorest line which hit the front side of the bowl first, which means that it does a slightly better job flushing than what you'll see with the lower end models. One of the main reasons our customers decide to purchase a TOTO product is the fact that they want something that's made in Japan. So the answer as to where the TOTO Neorest units are made may surprise you. If you are looking for a TOTO Neorest that's made in Japan, the only option that you have is the TOTO Neorest NX1 or TOTO Neorest NX2. If you go with the TOTO Neorest 700H or 750H, you're going to be dealing with a base that's made in China and a top that's made in either Malaysia or China. The whole 700 and 750Hs used to be made in China, but they are transitioning to make the top in Malaysia. For the RH and AH, you're looking at a base that's made in Japan and a top that's made in Malaysia. So for any of these units aside from the NX1 and NX2, you're looking at least partially made outside of Japan. When it comes to an expensive toilet like this, a lot of people are concerned about installation differences between one of these and a standard toilet. So there are some differences. First of all of these units are going to have a flange adapter that mounts to the flange, and then the toilet gets put on top of that. For the AH and the RH, you're going to be looking at the plastic access panel in the back coming off and bolts there connecting the toilet to the flange adapter, versus the 700H, 750H, and the NX1 and NX2, where you'll put the flange adapter in place, but then you'll also screw little plastic mounting brackets to the bathroom floor, and then the toilet screws into those plastic mounting brackets in the back to hold that toilet in place. Another key difference in installation is that with the NX1 and the NX2, once you have the base installed, you're good to go there. But with any of the others, the AH and RH, the 700 and 750H, those all have the bowl installed and then the top put on after. If you want in-depth details about installation for each of these, check out our YouTube channel. We have installation videos either made or coming very soon that walk you through that entire process. If you've ever gotten a chance to compare the 700H or 750H remote to the remote of one of the other Neorests we're talking about today, you'll notice that the 700H and 750H remotes don't have a power button on them. The design of those remotes versus the other remotes are slightly different because TOTO has been shifting to a new remote design, and the 700H and 750H are older units, so they have the old design. That being said, they are still very, very similar remotes with very, very similar menu options. They're just slightly different. If you want a feel for the difference between the remotes and a walkthrough of all of the remote functions, check out our Neorest playlist video, or Neorest remote playlist video in the video description. You might wonder why we're having two identical toilets sitting up here in front of us. Well, they're not identical. We have the NX1 sitting over here and the NX2 sitting over here. Amazing toilet that cleans itself. That's the only difference. We get people asking us all the time, is the only difference between these two toilets really Actilight, which is the UV lighting that breaks down whatever's left in the bowl? The straightforward answer is yes, that's the only difference. And here is that UV light. Note the NX1 does not have that UV light built into it. The NX2 does. Now, this light is programmed automatically to come on in the middle of the night when no one's using the unit, so you don't have to worry about it shining light into the bathroom when people are around using it. It comes on in the middle of the night. The other thing you'll notice is that the bowl itself has this glaze on it that almost gives it a pearl-like look. And this glaze allows the light, when it hits, to bounce off and reflect off of as many surfaces as possible to get the toilet as clean as possible. Looking at the NX1 bowl, it looks pretty standard. It's nothing to write home about, it's just a standard toilet bowl. So NX1 and NX2, same exact internals, both made in Japan. The only difference is the light and the glaze on the bowl to help the light do its job the best it can. Now, looking at the price difference between the non-Actilight version and the Actilight version, you might ask yourself, is it really worth paying almost double to get a self-cleaning toilet? Does it really work that great? Well, we did do some testing. So we took Nutella, put it on the bowl, and let Actilight go to work, and it did clean the toilet bowl. So from our brief test, yes, I would say it works, but we are installing one of these in our home at some point, at which point we will report back and let you know how well it works out in the field. If you want to know when that video drops, subscribe and click on the little bell icon so that you're alerted when that video drops. So by this point, you know the drill. These two look the same. They're not. These are the 700H and the 750H. The 700H, which we had installed in our own old home for years and absolutely loved it. The difference between the two, same as with the NX1 and the NX2. The 700H, no Actilight. The 750H, Actilight. So again, it cleans the bowl and the toilet by using UV lighting. And as you might expect from what we saw with the NX1 and the NX2, the bowls of these two units look different, more standard looking, more pearl looking, to allow that Actilight to bounce around everywhere that it possibly can to clean that bowl the best that it can. Both the AH and the RH use the same bowl on the bottom, but they have different tops. The RH's top gives it a more rounded look, whereas the AH top gives it more of a square look, more of a 700H look. Because of the difference in look, you would expect the seated experience to be different, but you can see that the seated portion is very, very similar between the two because the seat has to conform to the bowl that it's on, and they use the same bowl. You will notice that as part of the aesthetics difference, we have the lid attaching midway on the RH, whereas the lid attaches in the far back on the AH. And obviously that gives it a pretty different look and feel. Functionality wise and internals wise, they are absolutely 100% identical. So when trying to decide between which of the two of these to purchase, the only question you have to ask yourself is the AH worth the extra money for the updated look that it provides? So you've watched this video, you know you want a TOTO Neorest, but you don't know how to get your hands on one. I've got good news. We sell these units. We will ship them anywhere in the continental US. All you have to do is click on the link in the video description and pick the one that you want. Now, if you're looking for special pricing, we're happy to help on that front as well, so reach out. But of course, if you're looking to support us as much as possible, you're more than welcome to buy at the price listed on the website as well. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, yes, I'd like to purchase, but I have a few more questions, feel free to comment on this video as well so that we can address those as quickly as possible. You can also call, email, text, or live chat with us if you'd prefer to address those questions through one of those methods. Thank you so much for watching today, and have a great day.
MiniBidets.com, where we sell mini bidets, not mini bidets.